The NBA has a problem.
I think the trend of stars resting during the regular season is a huge problem for the NBA.
A major problem facing this league.
Ahead of a nationally televised game between the Warriors and Spurs, Steve Kerr sat his 4 All-Stars, resulting in a blowout.
We're talking about guys that have taken off in December. We're talking about guys that have taken off in January.
This is cheating the fans. It's cheating the game.
A week later, the NBA champion Cavaliers rested their 3 stars before a nationally televised game against the Clippers. The announcers weren't happy.
This still is an absolute joke.
Yeah, and if this was any other business, it would be a prosecutable offense.
Teams resting their players isn't a new trend. David Stern fined the Spurs $250,000 for sending home their 4 best players before a televised showdown against the Heat in 2012. But it is a growing one, and it's a result of what the NBA has become. A massively rich league with a too long season, and media and fans that dismiss any accomplishment short of winning the championship in June. So why is the media all worked up about NBA stars being healthy scratches during the regular season?
You're taking the fan for granted.
There's a responsibility that you have as players to be entertainers.
Who loses is the family that saved up for a whole year to take their son for his 8th birthday, and all he wanted to do was see LeBron James play. They only come to Memphis one time a year.
Did you see that? Did you see Christine Leahy almost whip up some crocodile tears for the imaginary family of a fictional young bandwagon Cavs fan? She really cares about the NBA fans that live in her head and support her argument. And maybe you, Joe NBA fan, are applauding these white knights of media for standing up for your interests, but I'm skeptical. Personally, if I were a young Cavs fan living in Memphis or someone's imagination, I'd accept LeBron resting on the one day I tried to watch him in person if it meant he was healthy and energetic enough to make the incredible chase down block that helped seal an unprecedented comeback against one of the best teams in history to bring Cleveland its first pro sports title in half a century. Let's go back to the Warriors and Cavs and Spurs. What do they all have in common? First, they're all super teams, championship winners with multiple stars who play well enough throughout the season to have the luxury of accepting a loss. Second, when they rested their stars during a nationally televised game, each was playing a road back-to-back. For the Warriors, it was their 5th game in 7 days and the 2nd time that week they played on consecutive days on the road. The Cavs game against the Clippers was the opener of a road back-to-back with a much less challenging Lakers team the next day. And when Pop sent his stars home in 2012, it was the Spurs' 4th road game in 5 days. The rest isn't to coddle players who are tired, it's injury prevention. A study published in the Journal of Science and Medicine and Sport concluded that players who are 3.5 times more likely to suffer an injury while playing a back-to-back on the road.
If you're gonna rest guys, do it at home where they see you 41 times. You don't do it your one trip to Indiana or Memphis or wherever.
No. Here's the thing about back-to-backs. The science suggests the injury risk is only severe on the road, and 2/3 of back-to-backs are played on the road. Put yourself in Steve Kerr's shoes. You and your staff have won 73 games in a season and been deemed a failure for not winning the championship that year. Your sole job is to win a championship. Your road game versus a fellow contender is more likely to produce an injury, and the court is tilted in your opponent's favor. Why risk your best player's health if the result is going to be a loss anyway? Accept the loss up front, and you can give your bench players game time, which will help them develop and build their coach's trust in case those precious stars do get injured. Still, even when presented with scientific evidence, commentators shrug it off.
I understand the medical information that we're acquiring. I even understand that we're getting more and more data to protect the players. But this still is an absolute joke.
Commentators, very often former players and coaches themselves, almost always come down on players and teams, but never the league that demands they play an 82-game season before a playoff season that lasts an extra 2 months. With the NBA media helping to create a largely anti-labor atmosphere, Commissioner Adam Silver has threatened significant penalties for teams that rest players without sufficient warning to the league.
Should the NBA penalize teams for doing it?
You know what? I think they should.
There are 2 problems with this. 1,
because you can't police it. All you're going to force them to do is lie.
And 2,
We do have a system in place. You are punished if you don't play the stars. You lose.
Ugh. I don't feel comfortable agreeing with Colin Cowherd, but he has a point. If a loss isn't enough to deter a coach from sitting his best players, then the logical conclusion is that a single game doesn't have enough value.
You know what the science is saying if that's the case? 82 games is too much.
Now, the NBA has had an 82-game season since 1967, when it was a 12-team league. But people still want to cling to the way things have always been.
Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love are under 30. They already need rest.
Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love have already missed an NBA Finals due to injuries sustained in the playoffs. And while there probably wasn't much Kevin Love could have done to avoid Kelly Olynyk's attempt to tear his arm off, it's hard to say how much Kyrie Irving's knee injury was due to the relentless grind of the NBA season.
Kyrie and LeBron are projected to play 5,300 minutes this season. 5,300, remember that number. Gentlemen named Rose and Miller, that would be Jalen and Reggie, played 6,100 minutes in a season. That's a reduction of nearly 800 minutes.
Let's talk about LeBron, how much he plays, and how much he has played. At age 32, he's already played more career games than Magic Johnson and Charles Barkley. He's missed about 6% of the games his entire career and 0 playoff games. He has played at least 20 playoff games in each of the last 6 years, logging at least 800 minutes in 5 of those years. LeBron's Game 7 block, that was the Cavs' 103rd game of the season and LeBron's 97th after playing more than 3,500 minutes that season. Jalen Rose played more games and minutes once in his career. Oh, and don't forget the Cavs' opponents in that fateful Game 7, the Warriors, who went 73-9 in the regular season and have since suffered nothing but relentless derision for blowing a 3-1 lead to a team that rested its star players a handful of times throughout the season. Why?
We only judge players by the final result and how many championships they won.
And there it is. The NBA can easily fix this problem. It can shorten the season by a few games. It can eliminate back-to-backs. It can be smart enough not to schedule primetime games in which a contender is playing a back-to-back. But what it will probably do is keep blaming the players for a problem the league created.